Hi guys, I'm just going to go over a quick video of the slant board, which is a piece of kit that we're going to be using for some squats this week. The benefit of the slant board is it helps improve the range of movement of a squat in terms of upright, how upright you can keep your spine, but also how low you can go. And the main reason for that is because when you squat with your feet in the ground, obviously, the lower you go, like the angle here at the shin changes in relation to the foot. So like the further down you go, then there's a big acute angle here. When you're standing up, obviously, like this is 0, and the lower you go, this sort of happens. The angle increases. So in order for a deep squat movement, you need a reasonable amount of mobility in this area to allow the angle of the shin to go from here, like to there, forward. So if you're really tight in this area, that's why a lot of folk, when they squat down, in order to get that angle, they end up finding they have to lift their heels off the ground. So that's why often, obviously when you're in a squat position, you have to be stable, so you need to keep your heels on the ground. So you're limited, in other words, by your ankle mobility in terms of how deep you can squat, unless you can implement something that will assist or reduce or change the shin angle in relation to the foot when you squat. And that's where elevating the heels comes in, because your starting position is different and it keeps it elevated. So the old trick before these things were mainstream was, back in the day, if someone was really struggling to get any sort of depth in a squat without their heels coming off the ground, you would put like weight plates behind their heel, which could help. But it wasn't ideal because it wasn't fully stable and the whole foot wasn't getting supported. So it wasn't something I've ever really been a fan of. It's something I've never really included in any of the sessions with folk with sort of ankle mobility issues. This, however, changes things a wee bit because it's a lot more stable and it covers the whole foot, so it gives you the chance to practice this movement. Another benefit of this is that when you're squatting in this with this position, okay, at a nice, as you can see, it's a nice angle, it really targets the VMO muscle right into the knee. So we've already explored this over the last couple of years, even go back to outdoors, with this idea of the heel elevated split squat, and that whereby you really feel it targeting the VMO. So this kind of is this idea helps target this muscle as well, which is amazing for knee stability and knee strength. At the same time though, because you're at an angle, it's going to allow you to go deeper into a squat, because as I said, you don't need to worry quite as much about any issues with ankle mobility. On that note, having said that, if you've got tight calves, for example, that can also be an issue. That will directly affect ankle mobility, tight Achilles, etc. So it's all kind of linked. And I actually think that's probably one of the main reasons for these slant boards, so you can do these sort of deep calf stretches, which will also have a knock-on effect on like relieving the Achilles tension and improving ankle mobility. So there's so many sort of, everything's kind of connected in that respect. I'm actually sure I read something, a study a few while back, that ankle mobility is maybe directly linked to potential cruciate knee injuries as well. So there's a real correlation between ankle mobility and knee health as well, for more than one reason. So what we're going to do, is stand on the board, okay? It should, nice and sturdy, right? And you're going to just slowly, I want you to slowly go down. The idea is to keep the weight to the hips, sit back, keep your chest up, and you'll notice you can go much lower than normal with a very upright spine. Okay, so the added benefit of that is, although we're not using it with weight training or weights in your back, there's less load going through your spine the more upright it is. Okay, so that's the movement we're looking for there. You're just going to go nice and controlled, nice and smooth, trying to keep your spine as upright as you can, and try and go lower into a squat. So as you're going down, like just in this position, it helps it works the body, it gets the body used to a sort of deeper range of like bum to hamstring area here, and in time your body can slowly adapt to getting more comfortable with it, with these deeper ranges. Okay, so initially we'll probably be doing reps of this, 10 to 15 reps initially without weight, and your job is just to stay, sorry I'm not looking at sometimes I get confused when I look at the camera, stay nice and upright, sitting back through the hips like that, okay, and then pushing back up. Now if you feel it going really low sometimes, especially if you're not used to this sort of deep range, you might feel a wee bit of discomfort around the knee area. So you don't necessarily need to go all the way initially, you could just try and go further than you've gone before in a normal squat. So obviously when you're doing a normal squat, Like again, you'll notice in order for me to go down low, there's more of an angle at the spine, which is totally fine. But with this, it allows you to stay a bit more upright, but you don't need to go to the very bottom. So if you feel normally you can only squat to about here, then with this, just try and get a few extra inches initially. And I want you to really concentrate on like starting to really feel. I want you, hopefully as the reps go on, especially if you do a decent tempo like this, you should start to feel the muscles in the VMO really working hard on the way up and the way down, particularly on the way down. So, like I said, you don't need to go all the way. You could go to maybe a bit, you can even play about with it. You can pause a bit here, go a wee bit lower, go a bit here, make sure the spine's nice and upright. See here, in this very upright position, see here right now, this is excruciating on the muscles around my legs. So if we might even just initially focus on getting to about here with a nice upright torso position and then push back. It's a very demanding exercise. I would actually argue that going to the very bottom gives you a slight bit of relief. So if you were to go to here, yeah, you need to push up, which can cause a bit of discomfort if you're not used to it. Really, you need to activate the VMOs. But see here, with an upright spine, very, very tough on the VMOs without even going to the very bottom. Okay, so we're going to give it a go. The goal of this is to really activate the muscles around the knee, which is excellent for knee health. At the same time, we're working range of movement, and then over time, it should allow you to get comfortable with a deeper range of movement in your squats. Okay, I don't think there's anything else I need to add to it right now. Okay, we'll give it a go, and then we'll take it from there. Oh yeah, I remember there's one real life example I wanted to give you of where this has been beneficial. So if you're someone that climbs hills and stuff, I know a lot of folk enjoy hill walking, you always notice it's the way down that's the hardest part. So this mimics, it's to do with the eccentric contraction and the fact that there's a lot more pressure going through the legs and you're having to work harder to keep everything stable through the knee. So if you're someone that gets sore knees when you're walking down hills, for example, this is the sort of exercise that can be really excellent for improving the conditioning of all the muscles involved in that sort of activity. But that's just a wee sort of real world example of the benefits.